We're going to talk about a few things on your form, and I want to, each one that I call out, I want you to highlight it on your sheet, and then there'll be some that I will underline, and then we'll go into in more detail, okay? So the first one at the top of your sheet is savings. The next one is rent or mortgage. Utilities. Loan payments. Debts and creditor one. Church tithings and other charitable contributions. Now when we get to this one, you can choose one or the other, okay? You don't have to choose both. Groceries. Medical. And then if you turn on the back, we're going to look at entertainment. Clothing. And other. Okay? And that will be all you'll need your highlighter for. So I'll take that. So next we're going to look at the percentages. And the percentages are ranges that is recommended that you stay within in order to have a good balanced budget, okay? And we're going to talk about a little bit how that affects your credit score as well, all right? So when I write these ranges down, I want you to put them to the left side of the highlighted areas that we have, okay? Now you can choose anywhere within the ranges that you want, and then we'll determine based on what percentages you chose where you fall along your budget line, okay? So for savings, I want you to choose between 5 and 10%. Okay? For rent or mortgage, I want you to choose between 25 and 35%. So it can be anywhere within those ranges. For utilities, we're going to look at 5 to 10%. And beside loan payment, I want you to put transportation in parentheses. And that will be between 10 and 15%. For debts and creditor one, between 5 and 10%. For church tithings and other charitable contributions, now remember you can choose one or the other, and that will be between 10 and 15%. For groceries, 5 to 15%. And for medical, 5 to 10%. And on the back, we're going to look at entertainment, and that will also be between 5 and 10%. For clothing, 2 to 7%. And beside other, I want you to write personal. and that will be between 5 and 10%. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure up, based on your salary, what your salary's budget would be, okay? So do you currently have a job?
No, I quit.
You did, okay. So we'll talk about that. So now what we can do is we can use a fictitious amount for your budget, your overall budget. And this is take home, what you bring home after taxes. So would you like to work with a figure that you used to make for the month, or would you like to make up a random number?
I can look what I used to make for
Okay. So what would you like that amount to be, bring home?
okay, cause, I mean, I got paid every week.
Okay.
So it was 130, 170,
Okay, so
180
let's,
on average.
okay. So let's figure that times 4.
How you doing?
Oh, you
Never
want,
mind.
got it? Mm-hmm.
640.
Okay, so we'll work with the figure of 640, and that's pretty realistic for most college students, right? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna work with this, and remember, like, once you start your career, we can also do the same formula, okay? And you're gonna keep this sheet for yourself. And remember to write your name at the top for me as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure, so if you're bringing home after taxes $640, so what did you choose for your savings percentage?
8.
8%? Okay, so let's do 640 on your calculator times 0.08. And what is your dollar amount? 51.20. Okay, so put that on the dollar line beside savings. Okay. For rent and mortgage, what did you choose?
30%.
30% times 0.30. Okay, write that in. For utilities, what did you choose?
10%.
10%. So, unless you,
640.
640 times 0.10.
$64.
Yeah, I thought you were just going ahead, go ahead and tell me, but yeah, $64. So you can write that in. Now for loan payment, we're looking at transportation. How much did you choose?
13%.
Okay, so that'll be 640 times 0.13. Okay,
83.20.
all right. Write that in. Let's move to debts and creditor 1.
I had that to 5%.
Okay, so 640 times 0.05.
32.
Okay.
Did I put that in the
Yes.
dollar amount?
Dollar amount line. Yes. All right, so let's move to church tithes and other charitable contributions.
10%. Oh, church time is 2%.
10%. Okay, so you've already figured out your 10%, so you know what that figure is already. Good. Okay. For groceries, what percentage did we choose?
14.
14%. So we'll do the 640 times 0.14.
89.60.
Okay. Medical.
10%.
Okay. All right, let's turn over entertainment.
7%.
7%, so we like to entertain. So we'll do 640 times 0.07.
440.
Okay. What about for clothing?
4%.
4%? Okay, good. 640 times 0.04.
25.60.
And personal. This is, lotion, getting our hair done, 7%. 640 times 7 times 0.07. Okay. Alright, so now what I want you to do is I want you to add up all of your dollar amount figures and tell me what you come up with. Excuse me.
More than
How much was it?
$1,552. $55.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think you added something incorrect.
I don't know. I believe
Yeah, let's start over.
Okay.
Because I don't think you're that far over budget.
Okay, so you count the savings, right?
Yes, count your savings.
20 plus 182 plus 64 plus 8320 plus 32
Mhm.
plus 64 plus 8960 plus 64. See, I'm already at 640 with all
Yeah,
that
you
work.
are.
Plus 4480.
Mhm.
Oh, no. Must have been.
You did the same thing.
Did I?
Go ahead.
So it was like,
Okay, so that's
that's not it.
755.20, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's subtract and tell me what your figure is.
115.
115.20. Okay? So what this is telling you is that even though you work within the recommended ranges, right, for a balanced budget, you could still potentially be over budget, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out how much percentage-wise we're over budget. Because some people like to work with percentages and some people like to work with dollar amounts, okay? So let's do that. And so what we're gonna do is look at your percentages that you chose. And so for savings, you chose 70%, correct? So you'll add up on your calculator, 0.07. Clear your calculator out, yeah. 0.07 plus, what did you choose, 30% for rent?
Yes, ma'am.
0.30. Okay, and then so on and so on. Keep going. How much?
117.
Okay. Right? So,
I think I got that right. Is that
right. So that means you're 17% over budget, or you're $115.20 over budget, right? So depending on how you want to work with your budget, you can try to eliminate the $115.20, or you can try to eliminate just the 17%, right?
Okay.
But still stay within the recommended ranges. And I don't want you to change anything on your paper because I want you to be able to see it, okay? So write these figures down somewhere in your white space at the bottom so that you know what you calculated, where you were over budget, and what you need to fix. But remember, we still want to stay within these ranges, okay? So the next thing we're gonna talk about is credit cards. Do you know how credit cards work? Okay, good. So, let's say you have a credit card that is, your credit limit is $200, which means you can charge up to $200 on the credit card, right? Well, this percentage here, which is 30%, which is very important for your credit score, okay? Because what happens is if you reach 31%, your credit score goes down, okay? So you want to always stay at this 30% range if at all possible. So if you have a credit card where you can charge up to $200, how much, in order to stay at 30%, can we charge on that particular credit card? Do 200 times 0.30. $60, okay? So that means at the end of the month, I either need to be at $60 if I, right? Or we need to pay it off at the end of the month, or we at least pay our minimum payment, right? Or pay it down to the $60 in order not to go over 30%. Does that make sense? Okay, let's say you go to the grocery store and you charge $70 worth of groceries. That took you over the 30%, right? Well, your payment is due, so what are you gonna do? If your minimum payment is $20, what are you gonna do?
Would you pay 30? Or would you pay 30 to cover the other two you made?
Right, you gotta pay your minimum payment, but you at least wanna be under the $60. You see where I'm going? Okay. So you still wanna be under the 60, but you have to pay your minimum payment. Okay. Alright, so let's say your credit card is $500, you have a $500 limit. How much could you charge on that particular card? 500 times 0.30. $150. Okay? You get where I'm going? Alright, we're gonna come back to that a little bit, okay? But just remember that you don't wanna reach this 30% mark. Okay? Alright. You breathing? Breathe. Alright. Alright, need to breathe. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about a couple of these things, right? So let's say rent. How much do you have in dollar amount for rent? $192. Can you get an apartment for $192 a month?
No.
Okay. So what would be some of your solutions?
To cut back on something else?
You could cut back somewhere else, right? Or what else could you do? You could get a roommate, right? Or you could stay at home until you save up enough money to move out, right? So those are your three options, okay? But you still can only work with the amount of money that you have, okay? So if you're looking to move out with your girlfriends and the apartment rent is $500, let's say, right, for a 3-bedroom house, and you have $192, could you room with them?
Yes. 'Cause
Okay.
It's 150.
Right. Okay. But you must first determine how much you can afford before you go out and get the apartment, right? So don't just go out and get the apartment and then be forced to have to pay whatever that is. You need to determine how much you can afford based on your salary first, okay? So the next thing we want to look at, we already talked about credit, but we want to talk about transportation. How much do you have in your transportation dollar amount?
83.20.
$83.20. Can you make a car payment with $83.20? No. Okay. So you know that you need to save up, right? So remember, you're not only saving up here in this transportation line item, you're also saving here. Okay? So just make that distinction. And then if you did have a car, let's say somebody gave you a car and you got $82.20, all right? So what all do you have to do with that transportation money? You have to get your oil changed. You have to put gas in, right? You have to continue to save because at some point you're going to need tires. At some point you're going to need windshield wipers, right? So this transportation budget is really important, okay? Unless you live somewhere where you can purchase a bike or something, okay? But this is really important. Okay, so for groceries, one of the things we want to talk about with groceries is how much do you have for a grocery budget?
89 to 60.
Okay, so that means if you go out with the girls and you spend $20 at Santa Fe or somewhere like that, right? A restaurant, then you only have $50 and what? If you spend 20,
If I spend 20, I just
50 and some change.
I have like 69, 60.
Okay, 65, 60 left for grocery. Because every time you eat out, it comes out of your grocery budget. Okay, you get that? All right. So that means you may want to cook a little bit more. All right. So let's look at an example. Let's say you live on campus and your tuition has already been paid, your housing has been paid, and your meal plan has been paid. And you get a refund check, okay? Let's just use $2,500, right? And we'll use a fall semester as an example. Most students will say, okay, school starts in August. So it'll be August, September, October, November, December. We have 5 months. They may divide that up by 5 months. How much would that be per month? $500, right. Do you think they could live off that $500 if everything was already paid? Yes. Okay. So, I bring the scenario, do you get your refund check on the first day of classes? No. Right. Okay, so they at least make you go to class, what, at least 2 weeks, right? So that's 3 weeks already, right? So why not divide by 6 instead of dividing by 5? And how much is that?
460.
Okay. Could they live off of 416 if they wanted to? Right. So I offer you another scenario, okay? So let's say they don't have a car, they live on campus and they want to save some money. So I say, well, put 1,000 in savings, okay? And that leaves you with 1,500. And let's do 1,500 divided by 6. Tell me what you got. $250. Because you live off of that.
If you really want to, but
How much is your allowance per month?
I don't.
Okay, so then can they live off $250? Are you living off of nothing?
Well, no.
But they can't live off $250? You see where I'm going? If you can live off of nothing and everything is paid for, right? Because see, some people get a little bit from their parents. You know, they may get $50, they may get $100. You know, no matter what it is, they still have to try to make it work, right? So, this is about telling your money where to go before you get it, right? And don't let the money control you, okay? This is all this scenario is about, is to get you to start thinking about, okay, well, if they can blow this money, or if they could budget this money, well, why not divide by 6? Because we're low income, right? So our parents don't have the money to give us. So we're really taking care of ourselves for the most part, most of the students, right? So why would you want to look crazy in January when you can stretch your money out a little bit further, right? If you just budget wisely. And then you can still try to save. So anytime you ever get a large lump sum of money, you always want to think about, okay, well, how much of this can I save for a rainy day? Because rainy days will come, right? Right. So the other thing I'm going to offer for you is that, okay, we got entertainment, right? How much is in your entertainment budget?
My entertainment budget is $44.80.
Okay.
I really actually.
Right. Because you know you're a college student, you can get into a lot of things for free with your student ID, right? So I say go to everything that's free and available to you, because you have things with the theater, the arts, you have all of your sporting events, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, volleyball. You can go into all of those things for free. They have plays on campus, they have lectures on campus, and even once you graduate, You go to the city, you look in the living section, they always have things that are free that you can do around the city. So look at all of your free options before you try to exhaust your entertainment budget, okay? Makes sense? All right. And so then the other thing I want you to keep in mind is your utilities. A lot of people say, oh, well, I have an electric bill, I have to pay it, but you can be smart about it too. You don't have to leave your lights on, right? You don't have to keep flopping the air conditioner back and forth, right? If you have internet, you can shop around for the best internet price, right? Yeah. And so for other things, like your cell phone bill, you can shop around for the best deal, okay? You don't have to pay, I mean, you have to pay it if you have it, but that doesn't mean you can't do things to try to control it, okay? And then remember, clothing, you can always shop the clearance rack first before you look at all the things that are shiny in the window, because you know they're new and they're gonna be the highest price thing in the store, right? Okay. Do you have any questions? Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Another tip that a student gave me, which I thought was a really good idea, she says periodically, when she knows she's getting ready to go home, she may go to one of the stores on campus and buy like juice or milk, and she'll take it home and freeze it. Because a lot of times students will, thinking about your dining dollars, I want you to also budget out, like you budgeted this out, budget out your dining dollars. Say, okay, how many times can I go to the Trojan Center versus going to the dining hall? Taking into account all of your holidays from the time that the semester starts until the end of the semester. Then you know what you can do, right? Instead of at the end of the semester saying, hey, anybody want something to eat, right? Couldn't you help your mom out at home instead of just giving away money? Or knowing when you can treat a friend and when you can't treat a friend, right? Because you've already calculated how many times you can eat at the TC versus eating at the CAD. I'm not saying don't do it, but be conscious of what you're doing before you do it. And so if you go home and you buy, a gallon of milk and you freeze it, and then when they need it, then they can just unfreeze it because it's still good. Or juice, instead of just throwing away the money, okay? Because it's hard-earned money, right? Right. So we want to be responsible with all the dollars that we're giving. Any questions? All right, well, great. Well, I'm gonna make sure your name is at the top of your sheet. I'm gonna give you your original for you to take with you, and I'll put your copy in your file. And then you've already gotten your welcome packet, and we'll wrap up for today,